We are live. This is Coach Arnie with the Health, Love, Life Adventure Show. And we're going to have an interesting conversation today about trauma and its relationship to pain. But there's ways to connect with me, and Cece was kind to put the information up there. Best way is a phone call, 602-390-9144, or you can email me, and I will definitely get back to you with anything you have as far as a question or comment. Let me know what you think. If this makes any sense or you think it's nonsense. Either way, it's okay. But we're going to talk about trauma and pain. You know, I do a lot of work with pain, and I was just sharing a conversation I just had. I was sharing it with Cece here. I just was with somebody who's dealing with a traumatic injury that happened to him, 27 years ago. 27 years ago. And he had a neck injury, and he's a quadriplegic. And well, I tell you what, that's led to numerous psychological, emotional, physical, spiritual issues in his life. But, you know, there was also a lot of joy in our conversation about things we did together, experiences. I can't answer for anybody. I can't answer where life's going to take any of us. I just don't know. I just know, as I was sharing again, that we have this tiny little moment that we're given when something happens to us, whether somebody cuts us off in traffic, or we get a bad phone call, or someone says boo to us. We get this tiny gap of time that we get to respond or react. And we have a ton of those that happen during the day. Phone call, it could be anything. Gee whiz. And that's what all those things tied together provide us with how our day goes, or how our week goes, or how our life goes. And how we respond, or how we choose to respond, decides about our happiness, our joy. So we can almost create the life we want to live, depending on how we deal with what life gives us. So you're just in charge of everything. You are. I mean, and I brings up another great question, comment. I have a wonderful gentleman I work with. He's 86. And the other day he had a flood in his house, toilet overflowed. We've all gone through this. And once we figured out what was going on, I had a friend help clean it up and got him kind of organized. And then we got a hold of the plumbers, and he came by and took a look at it and started the ball rolling for some restoration stuff. And he was sitting there, and he kind of smiled at me and crossed his legs. He goes, we'll manage it. We'll take care of it. It's going to be okay. And I said, yeah, it will be, because of that attitude right there. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. And I told myself, you know, I want to be like that when I'm 86. Now, granted, look, if something really bad happens and you're smiling, going, hey, you know, whoa, you know, they might think you're a little cuckoo. But when the toilet overflows, or you get a flat tire, or something goofy happens, you just manage it. You manage it. And that's kind of how life is. Because when we don't manage it, these traumatic experiences, and we're going to have a little discussion here about it. We've got quite a bit of notes, but I want to have more of a discussion and kind of where this thing goes here. Because, you know, trauma, whether it's an overflowing toilet or abuse, physical, sexual, mental, emotional, or an injury. Trauma causes the nervous system to become overreactive. Because you're in this state of stress. And then, and this can be immediate if it was a traumatic event, or it could progress longer if it's a series of things. Like the old adage, I'm having a bad week. Almost like a country song. My girlfriend left, my truck got a flat tire, just one thing after another. And before you know it, you're on overload, you're on overwhelm. And then it becomes a point of, I don't know what to do because it's just too much coming at me. And sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. It's like being in a hurricane. The best place to be is in the eye of the hurricane, because that's where it's the calmest. It's kind of like that. We talked about the buffalo, the bison, a couple weeks ago, and how they have figured out to move through the storm because it's less painful. But sometimes we don't do that. We continue to run or run around with our hair on fire. I mean, that guy could have ran around with his hair on fire about the flood, but he didn't, and he's okay. We have been very systematic in what he's going to do, and we didn't even panic when we knew what he was going to do, because we were told by somebody that we trusted that it's going to be okay and it's going to take one day, and so he didn't overplan. And I just got off the phone with somebody who's going to help him move to a hotel for tonight, and then we'll see how things go tomorrow, and then he may be back home on Friday. Bam. He could have panicked, left, gone to a hotel, spent $1,000 on hotels when you didn't need to. Because you don't panic, you think about it. It's kind of why I have a 72-hour rule when it comes to traumatic situations. Now, look, we're not talking about a traumatic event like you break your neck, but you better know how to manage that as well, because that's the world that I come from, traumatic injury. And if you don't do the right things at the right time, it can make that worse. So again, it still comes down to management, calmness in those situations. So, trauma can build up over time, or can be an event. And what happens then through this, how does it then begin to manifest itself? And that's kind of where we want to kind of go here. Because because it's one thing if you break your leg, because an injury in itself, a broken neck, a broken leg, a pulled muscle, a twitch, a back injury. How many people do you know have a back pain or neck pain, and it's like they're in constant turmoil, and their pain's in the to other people, because they haven't learned how to interrupt that pattern, and so they're just miserable. So an injury or an illness can be that traumatic event. So then things start to happen to our system. Our sleep breaks down. How many people do you know? I've gone through it. The last 2 weeks I've been dealing with an alignment issue in my body, because I'm always training, doing things, and this is what I do. So I had to experience it myself, and I go through this every once in a while because I'm trying new things and learning, and I'll push myself harder than I probably should. And then I have to go, okay, now think. What does this mean? What's a better question to ask instead of, oh my God? It's like, okay, what happened? What does this mean? What do I need to do? And I go into motion. Okay, getting myself back in alignment. And because it bothers you, it disturbs your sleep. When your body hurts, it's hard to sleep. So we over medicate. I tried not to, and I didn't. I did take some, and I rarely do this, but I did take some anti-inflammatories a couple times. And the last week, I haven't had to do that, which is good. It was progress for me. This is me. You do it. You do you. I do me. But I knew I didn't want to become dependent on any of that stuff. I wanted to figure it out. So sleep disturbance is big. Hyperarousal. You're in pain. You're like, you're edgy. You know, everything bothers you. Anxiety. You're worrying about what's going to happen. I got to go to work. I don't feel good. This is hurt. Anxiety. Let's see. Obviously, tension, stress. All these things will change your health, not for the better, because you don't feel good. I mean, if you're not sleeping well, if you're in a lot of pain, if you're taking medication, are you going to have gut problems? Are you going to have problems going to the bathroom? I mean, these are all things that happen because of this road we start to go on here with pain or trauma. But trauma, worry about a loved one, a relationship, trauma, physical abuse, sexual abuse, trauma. And all these things lead to the things we just talked about: sleep, not being able to sleep, being oversensitive, being over aroused, anxiety, sadness, depression. All these things kick in. So obviously a series of. So what are some things that that cause this trauma? You know, again, let's kind of review here: accidents, sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect. I mean, children, little guys are go through neglect. Older people neglect. That's trauma. You know, for the folks that have been in the war, combat, but that can also be police officers, firefighters. I worked with just a wonderful man. I mean, I've known him almost his whole life, and just retired from the fire department. And I feel bad for him. We just had a meeting earlier today, and part of his response was almost like a PTSD response. And I just kind of sat there and just kind of let him do his thing. And after the meeting, I talked with somebody else, and because we're both reading this great book. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. Write that down. Great book. The Body Keeps the Score. It's about trauma and stuff, and maybe that's kind of why we're doing this. But we were kind of going over. Hang on. We were kind of going over. We were going over. Sorry about that. We were going over his response in the meeting and how he almost created chaos in the meeting to simulate a chaotic situation that he would have gone through as a firefighter. It's almost as if he needed that stress to operate. And that happens a lot with PTSD in combat, firefighting, police officers, and they have a hard time dealing with calm. And I've seen that in probably the last couple of months with this guy, and it's worrisome for me because he's like a little brother to me, and I don't know how to help him because and I've talked to another friend, because he needs professional help, and that's going to be a tough road to hoe. But here's the problem. It's going to manifest itself in physical things. I already see some things happening with him. But here are some ways that these things, this trauma can manifest itself in our bodies. Fatigue. How many people do you know that experience trauma and are dealing with excessive fatigue? They're always tired. Why? Sleeplessness. Man, we talked about that. Sleeplessness. A lot of people don't want to sleep because they're afraid of the demons going on in their head at night. So they try to sleep during the day, and that's hard because you're kind of napping. So you're not really getting that deep sleep that you need to restore and rejuvenate your body. So fatigue, insomnia, obviously, foggy brain. And it's all kind of related. Can you see this stuff here? Your thoughts aren't clear. They're kind of muddled. And a lot of it's due to the brain not being fully rested. And so foggy brain is a big one. Increased heart rate. That's that anxiety, stress. That's a stress response. Aches and pains. Your neck. I was talking to a client this morning. I feel bad for him, but that's why he's coming to see me. He's got chronic neck pain. He had as a football player, he had a neck injury, and they had to go in and put plates and stuff in there. And over the last, almost 40 years, he's been having to deal with this. And so we're working on some things, and I found some things out today we're going to try on Friday. And but he just flat out told me, he goes, when he's under stress at work and he's in this position here, which happens a lot when you're on the computer, it hurts. So that's kind of postural. But he admitted today, and we've had this conversation before, that the stress at work tightens him up. And he knows to break patterns, which we're going to talk a little bit about. He knows all that stuff. But so do a lot of people. Doesn't mean they do it. So aches and pains. A lot of the pain that I deal with people with knees and backs and hips, that's from trauma. Not a lot of people come to me and say, hey, Arnie, on this day, I got hit in my knee, or I did this thing, and ever since then my knee hurt. No, it's little things that happen over the last 20, 30 years to their knee. And then they want to blame it. Well, I had this one guy. He was great. And then we're going to take a break. But I worked with him on his back. His back got significantly better in just weeks because it was just a matter of alignment. And I go, so when did this happen? He goes, I don't know. It's been bothering me since I was in my 20s. I said, it was 40 years because he's 65, 64. And I go, wow. And then I go, what triggered that? He goes, it had to be something in football. Of course, you're a football player, of course. It could have been anything. It could have been a number of events in his life. But he remembers having to deal with it since his early 20s. But in a matter of weeks, with some simple movements and exercise, he was able to become relatively pain-free. That means he's always going to be pain-free? No. It means he's got to keep doing the movements. That's the hard part. Sometimes getting rid of it is easy. That's why when I talk to a lot of surgeons, they don't mind giving you the shot. The problem is, if you don't do anything once you get the shot, then they know you're going to come right back because the shot's going to wear out. All right. So let's hold that thought for a minute as far as how pain manifests itself. So we'll come right back, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right. So now we're talking about this trauma, how this trauma can kind of manifest itself in our bodies and with different kinds of pain, neck pain, back pain. I mean, let's remember now, neck and back pain are kind of tied 1 and 2 as the most prolific pain that we have in our society. And for the most part, I asked so many people, they couldn't tell you what triggered it, what started it. They can kind of give you an approximation maybe, but most of them aren't going to tell you, well, I had this car accident when I was 25 years old and I got the old whiplash going. No, they can't tell you that. I don't know, and I couldn't tell you either. Now this guy did. He was a football player, what I was just talking about, but that's not what's triggering it now. What's triggering it now is constant stress, and he's trying to learn strategies to push back, which we're going to talk about, against the stress, along with some physical stuff to kind of open that area up. And who knows? It may work, it may not work, but he's giving it a go. Because see, we got to also remember that all pain is created here. And what I mean by that is our response, because we have a sensory and a motor track. The sensory is like if I prick my finger, I feel it and it sends an impulse to my brain and my mouth goes, ouch. So that you get that loop there. Or my brain might see something and then it can manifest itself in a pain response as well. Like you when it comes to abuse, you see a person and it triggers a memory or response, and it's painful. It's a it can be neck, back, it could be anywhere in your body. We don't know, and that's the problem here. So there's a lot of this stuff comes right from here, and that's why we can control a lot of it. But at the same time, if we don't learn how to do that, it controls us, and we become it creates in our systems being oversensitive and overprotective. So people that go through a lot of trauma or dealing with trauma, they become very sensitive. You probably, if you're dealing with it, you know what I'm talking about. If you are around people that are dealing with it, you know what I'm talking about. And they're overprotective of their systems. Oh, I can't do that because that's a trigger. That's going to do this. I can't. Or it's going to. Oh, I mean, I run into this all the time, and they're afraid to do anything, which leads to other problems of overwhelm because they don't want to do things that could potentially get them out of that cycle because they're convinced that whatever they're going to do is going to create more pain. The brain has told them that activity, that movement, that whatever is going to hurt them, that person. Oh, I don't want to go what he says because last time I did something he said, it hurt. And hence, as someone who's owned physical therapy clinics and worked with a lot of therapists, and I'm not a big therapist fan, but they do what they do. But a lot of times they'll come in now and do very little because they don't want to disrupt you. Because they don't want to be told, oh, he hurt me. Oh, last time you hurt me. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And I don't want to hurt anybody, but sometimes you have to find out where somebody's at. But a lot of times it's like someone that just wants to be your friend. Well, that's fine. But there's a good chance you're not going to be able to help them because you can't give them honest feedback. And if you can't tell somebody, hey, look, we need to do this at the right level, and that's going to help you to get better. But if you don't want to hurt them and make them uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. And so then they get to control their situation, the brain, and then they get to say, see, it doesn't work. Therapist came and saw me, didn't do anything. Yeah, they didn't, because they didn't want to hurt you. So this constant back and forth keeps going on in our brains. Yeah. And so, trauma then, again, trauma and chronic pain. So trauma, chronic pain is going to create more. It's going to basically, like I said, sensitize the nervous system and create an overprotective response. That's what we just said. It puts our nervous system on high alert. You know, heck, you may go on your way to the physical therapy place, and as soon as you see the building, you're going high alert. You're going to protect, and then nothing they do is going to help you. They're so tight, and then they end up sitting there talking to you for an hour, and so you waste every time. And then at the end of the session, you might feel a little better, but at the end of the month, you don't feel any better at all because you really didn't do anything. So we have to be aware of that. So what can we do? Let's take a few minutes here. What can we do to start breaking up these patterns? How can we break that connection with traumatic stress and physical pain? What can we do? First, we've got to be aware of it. You know, if you're not aware that your back pain, neck pain, knee pain, foot pain, brain pain, any kind of pain is related to what's going on in your life or what has gone on in your life. And that's where this is tricky. You know, it could be childhood stuff. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I just play one on TV. But I know that sometimes we need to talk to people. What can we do? Like I have a guy, I'll go back to my 86-year-old, because one of the things I started working with him on when I met him was his back. And he had been sensitized to take medicine whenever he got back pain. So one time he took too much. So what I did is I said, look, let's come up with a plan. So I said, and I acknowledge he's had back pain. Because he went on and on. It starts up here and it goes to here. And I get it. I'm not going to argue that. But here's what I want you to do. Because I want you to be safe. So you got your medicine, because he went to the doctor, went to the pain doctor. I had somebody take him there. Got his pills. And he had some Tylenol and all that stuff. I said, when you feel, because he could tell me when he could feel it coming on. I said, great. When you feel it coming on, I want you to take 2 of these. Okay, and we started with the Tylenol. And he still has his pain. I don't think he's ever taken it. I said, you take 2 of these and then you go lay down. I don't want you to be in your chair, because I don't want you to be in your chair having taken this stuff and then try to get up and maybe fall, because he lives by himself. So he said, okay. And I go, I don't want you to call me. So he had picked the phone up. He goes, hey, coach, I'm feeling it coming on. I said, great. What are you doing? He goes, I'm laying down. Great, because you took your meds, right? Yep. I said, I'll touch base with you in a couple hours. Just want you to rest there. A couple hours later, I say, hey, how you doing? I'm doing okay. Great. Because he laid down. He broke the pattern. He took a couple extra strength Tylenol. No big deal. Didn't have to take any narcotics, because he had him sitting there. But we broke the pain. We broke the cycle. And sometimes it's go longer than that. Yep. He'll call me up and go, it happened last week. I was actually working in the morning with some folks at my boot camp. called me up. He goes, I think I'm feeling something. I said, great. What are you doing? He goes, I'm laying down. I go, good. What have you done? Took in 2 minutes. Great. I'll check with you in a couple hours. He goes, do you think I should take more now? I said, no. And this is exactly what I said to him. You know the plan. Stick to the plan. I talked to him probably 3 or 4 hours later. How you doing? I'm doing fine. Yeah, it was great. Thanks for reminding me not to take more. But you got to have a plan. So for him, lay down, take a couple Tylenol, breaks the pattern. For some, it's movement. I know that I can get almost anybody feeling a little better by just standing up, moving, For some, it's yoga. Get down on the floor, pull out your yoga mat, and just go into some yoga positions. Open up the chest, open up the shoulders, move. You know what happens within a matter of minutes? You break the pattern. Works. It works. So whenever you're feeling whatever that stress, that trauma, it's bringing in, whether it's back pain like my friend, or maybe it's for you, it's your neck, maybe it's for you, it's your knee, it just aches, just out of the blue, it just starts hurting. I don't know what I did. My knee is hurting. Trauma. We all have it. We're all dealing with it. So movement might be dance. What if you just like to put some music on and just start dancing in your room? Nobody has to see you. Who cares? You just start dancing. You're moving. And all of a sudden, my alignment, like I said, was working on it for the last couple of weeks. I was just with somebody. And I know for me, when my alignment and my knees get back, I hear this pop, 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 pop. And I'm sitting there, I was talking to him and this other guy. And all of a sudden, my knee went pop, 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 pop. And I went, wow. And I'm sitting there like right now going, my knee hasn't felt this good in 2 weeks. Why? Because I was relaxed, I was talking to some people, and I was just kind of moving and grooving. And my knee just went pop, 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 pop. Got back in alignment. So when you're relaxing, you're dancing, doing yoga, or whatever you do, go for a walk. And you don't even know it. All of a sudden, your back might go. And those discs get back in alignment. The knee gets back in alignment. Your hip gets back in alignment. Now, it may take more than one walk. It's taken me 2 weeks, and I know what I'm doing. At least I think I do. But the first few days that I felt some stuff, I was looking for the pain, the area, and I'd work on it, massage it, do the things that I do, that I know to do, that I teach my clients to do. And a couple days felt better. A couple days felt better. Went hiking, felt better. A couple days felt better. I looked at progress that gave me the cue that I was better. Movement. I didn't panic. I didn't take any drugs. Just movement. Maybe it's talking to somebody. Maybe get on the phone and say, hey, Mary, hey, Jim, you got a couple minutes? I just want to share something with you. What's up, man? I'm just feeling bad. Having a bad day. And sometimes you get off the phone call like that, as long as it's with somebody that wants to hear it, you'll go, God, my neck feels better. Because it does. Because it does. You got to break the connection with the traumatic stress and the pain. So maybe it's meditation and prayer. I mean, I know I've started working in meditation into my world about a year ago. I read a great book, and I've always wanted to. I wasn't sure how. And this great book said, you know what? Can you do 4 minutes? And it's not even 5 minutes. I go, I can do that. So I literally started sitting down, and I came up with my own little routine. And pretty soon, 4 minutes turned into 5 minutes, turned into 6 minutes, turned into 10 minutes. And every once in a while, I'll go longer, depending on how much time I have. But I feel incredibly, and all of a sudden your breathing relaxes and you start to decompress. But it started with just a couple minutes because I didn't start off with, oh, you got to meditate for a half an hour or an hour. I hear this all the time. I go, whoa, I can't do that. I can do 4 minutes. And that's what I started with. Work for me. Maybe it'll work for you. I don't know. So, but pray as well. I always end with, because of my Christian faith, I pray and pray for people and do that a couple times a day, and that helps break a pattern. Even if I'm having a bad day, hitting my knees and thinking about other people and praying and asking God for my own needs as well, man, it helps. Might be worth trying. Or, and this is a big one, how about some little self-nurturing of your body? Maybe getting a massage. How about just eating better? Do you realize how many of us, and we're all guilty of it, when we feel bad, we think the solution to that is to put crap in here. That'll make it better. It's like driving your car around, you get a flat tire, and you fix the flat tire, and you go, okay, I'm going to show you, car. I'm going to go in there and get the worst gas, and I'm going to put gas in you, and then I'm going to throw a bunch of sugar in the gas tank, and I'm going to teach you a lesson. We would never do that. But we do it to ourselves all the time. Don't we? We sure do. So little nurturing, exercise, nutrition, take care of yourself. Feel good. Do something fun. Watch a funny movie. Go for a walk. Any of those things we just talked about. All those things are nurturing to ourselves. And if you're not willing to do that, you're probably going to suffer the consequences of pain that's going to manifest somewhere in your body. At some point, you will. Because you just hurt. You just hurt. And so those are things that we could do, because if we don't, let's reverse back again for a minute. If we don't, then we're going to fall back into this trap. We're going to develop the inability to regulate our emotions, because chronic traumatic stress over time will create an environment that you're not going to be able to regulate your emotions, and you're going to be under the control of medicine, or maybe a psychiatrist or somebody that's going to regulate it for you, because you've lost that ability. You're going to be subject to anxiety and depression, because that's what we do. We're either going to be angry or we're going to be sad. We're going to be angry or sad. And so we get into this loop. And if we don't break it with some of the things we just talked about, we're trapped. And then we try to escape by doing stupid things, eating bad food, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, numbing ourselves out of there, versus nurturing your way out of there. And then we can, and over time, doing all that stuff, and when we talk about it, we damage our neural connections. We just damage them over time, whether it's from childhood stuff over time, and we keep damaging these connections to how we respond. And pretty soon we get into a very numb situation. And nobody wants to live like that. Nobody wants to live like that. And we become exhausted. Our adrenal glands are exhausted. We just can't deal with stress anymore. I've talked to people that, let's say they're obese, and just a suggestion to move, just a suggestion to get up early, or to add any anything to their day to help them get to another level creates overwhelm, because they feel that anything extra is going to lead to something that they can't handle. They've already, remember the brain, they've already created this scenario in their brain that this is going to create overwhelm and pain. It's going to hurt my knees. It's going to hurt my back. It's going to hurt my neck. It's going to hurt, because they haven't learned how to do the things to break up that pattern. Do some movement, do some dance, some gentle stuff. Take care of themselves. Talk to somebody about it. Instead of sitting there dwelling about it, talk about it. And so overall, and we'll end with this, overall, it creates a negative outlook on life. So this cycle that you're in now is, I had this stuff happen to me, whether it was a traumatic event or traumatic events, and it led to me doing all these things, which now triggers me to do these other things, which triggers me to do this other stuff. And I'm just too tired to deal with any of it. So it just keeps going around and around. Every once in a while, I'll take some drugs, kind of numb my way for a while. Drugs wear off. I'm back in it. I'm back in it. I'm back in it. So your whole outlook on life is very negative, because everything hurts and everything's going to hurt. You know, you don't even want to go visit friends anymore because it probably hurts to climb up a set of stairs. Oh, just in case I might have to climb up some stairs. What if I have to go to the bathroom? Then I'm going to have to walk down the hallway and figure that out. I mean, it's endless what we do to ourselves because of this negative outlook on life. And we get trapped. So we have to figure that out. And that's what we do. That's what I do. That's what help people do all the time. But you can do it too. I mean, you can look this stuff up, but give me a holler. You can email me, you can call me. I can help you through some stuff and give you some ideas, at least, and some encouragement, some love, because that's sometimes what we really need. We all want to be understood and we want to be loved. That's all. And we can do that. All right, guys, this is Coach Arnie. I appreciate you. I look forward to our next visit. And don't forget, if some of this stuff resonates with you, just try some of these things and do them. Surprise yourself. Okay, you can do it. All right, guys, I love you. I am out of here.